Moresby settlers evicted for roadworks. Refugees in court on resettlement. And spreading the word through performing arts.
This is National EMTV News with Lorraine Genia.
Good evening and welcome to Monday's news. The Corraway 4-lane road project along the June Valley area in Port Moresby has forced hundreds of settlers to be evicted from their homes. While the settlers have welcomed this development, they want proper relocation plans from the government. Local landowners have also raised concerns to the Lands Department to come clear on land vetting processes because they claim the project sits on customary and not state land. A small protest was staged this morning by landowners and settlers to seek answers.
Today, settlers and landowners living along the June Valley area came out in numbers to protest the Corraway 4-lane road project. They claim the project cuts through land that is customary owned, and they want answers to how the project was initiated without their consent.
Unknown titles are not permitted. Any projects that come inside long customary ground must work in good and proper way.
Me papa grand must kiss him one plug. One toya or one emilo grand blow me took. It's a customary land here also.
The multi-million kina project by the government is one of many road projects in the nation's capital. It is part of a massive urbanization program that can be seen as beneficial to all but not to some people.
Eviction come up now, Rosimous Lulman now. Suppose UK by South and Islaman Philip or Rosimon the June Valley. Now all relocated in the Islab, now I'm stopped with Islab and I'm going to walk. Do you know? Suppose government, you know, so minimum cable stop away.
For most of the settlers living here, they accept the changes that are happening around the city, but they do not want to fall victims to these changes.
Right, government, people are looking over the changes, people are not stopping development, and can progress. Me no piscina, but me ang map the branch to the way go too late, na me will walk. Time me sleep the street, me sana the street go too late, or long blast up store, back store, and go too late, na me go walk. Where is the safety of my kids, my wife and family?
The issue brings to light other issues that are yet to be addressed by the Lands Department. Problems like land vetting and proper issue of land titles to landowners and land buyers is one area the Lands Department is yet to improve. But the bigger issue is that there are no policies or plans in place to resettle evicted settlers affected by government projects.
You must settle me. Suppose you kill me, you must settle me, Lonarbla.
Meanwhile, in an off-camera interview, NCDC Enforcement Coordinator Matesh Repo confirmed that the project will run between the June Valley to Hanua Bada corridor, which is only 40 meters wide. This will affect only a small number of people, he said. Repo said the project is a priority project for NCD and the national government, and it will go ahead as planned. Stanley Ove Jr., National EMTV News.
A working committee has been established to resolve matters concerning landowners in the Koyari catchment where the Sirinumu Dam and Rauna power supply is located. Addressing the landowners today, Trade, Commerce and Industry Minister Richard Maru says millions have been paid by the government. However, no tangible development is evident. Minister Maru announced that a new development package will be formulated for Koyari people to benefit.
In another effort to resolve matters concerning resource owners of the Sirinumu Dam and Rauna power grid, Minister Maru was accompanied by Kairuku Iri MP Peter Iso Aimo to meet disappointed landowners.
Is here to listen to all our grievances. At least he knows firsthand as to what direction we should be redirecting many of the funds.
Landowners were concerned about the government's 20 million kina which was paid to Koyari landowners for outstanding benefits for water and electricity usage in the city. It is understood out of the 20 million funded earlier this year, no proper development plan was followed. Iso Aimo called on leaders to be critical as proper dialogue is now being established with the working team headed by Minister Maru.
You know, we give a clear demarcation as to how funding is going to be dispersed and you know, what is for landowner benefits and which then is to be put onto infrastructural development. So,
among the steps taken to address concerns of the Koyari land owners, the 2001 MOU will be reviewed to serve people in areas of education, health and road infrastructure.
We will now give a sustainable economic benefit package to the Koyari people. I mean, the one LG, one legally group, no God, the Koyari people.
The working committee involves officers from Treasury, National Planning, Minister Maru and MP Iso Aimo, and leaders from Rauna, Sirinumu, Lower and Upper Koyari. Consultation process will begin next week with the basic outcome of formulating a new sustainable development plan for the Koyari resource owners.
So we are going to do it properly, document things properly, bring in expertise properly. Remember, we have to do it right.
Jack Lapave Jr., National EMTV News.
Teachers in the nation's capital today rallied outside the PNG Teachers Association office, calling for the removal of General Secretary Ugwalubu Moana. Mr. Moana is currently under investigation over allegations of misappropriating PNG TA funds. He was reinstated by the court last week, but teachers say they will appeal his reinstatement.
Teachers hung banners in front of the PNGTA head office showing their anger after the Wagani District Court reinstated Ugwalubu Moana as the General Secretary, despite investigations against him over misappropriation of funds.
Coming out to all the financial members of the Papua New Guinea Teachers House throughout the country, whatever contribution we do to this house here must well be used for our welfare. Currently, the house is under investigation in regards to our assets, in regard to the properties we have, in regard to even the funds we have. While that is going on, why do we need Moana in the house? Moana must be out.
A caretaker administrator has been put in place by the Industrial Union Register to take care of the PNGTA office while investigations are ongoing. The teachers want the Industrial Union Register to remain in office. They are against Mr. Moana's reinstatement and say they will appeal.
It's under investigation. And we'd like to thank the Labour Department through the Office of the Industrial Registrar to have initiated this move to come out clear and make sure that the association is under investigation. Right now it is under administration. And therefore the need for a General Secretary should be out.
The teachers then locked up the PNGTA office after asking the security guards to leave. Police intervened but were not successful.
That I have an association. That association that I have contributed debt for, and other members throughout the country. Speaking right now here in the nation's capital, I have teachers who are teaching right out in the remotest part of Papua New Guinea, and here I am speaking on behalf of them. We have contributed so immense, very huge amount of money into this association. However, gross abuse has been done. People are not managing things properly, and therefore I am here speaking for the teachers that this particular billion must be investigated properly. And
teachers are planning to continue their demonstration throughout the week. Merlin Diaukatam, National EMTV News.
The misappropriation charges against Como Magarima MP Francis Potape were dismissed last Friday due to lack of evidence. The Waigani National Court found Potape not guilty on 2 counts of misappropriation involving 330,000 kina belonging to his electorate. Presiding Judge Justice George Manuhu found that there was no sufficient evidence provided by the state prosecution to support the charges.
In July 14, after the retrial of Potape ended, his lawyer Justin Hayara filed a no-case to answer submission. Hayara argued that there were insufficient evidences for the court to convict Potape. The state alleged that between the 1st and 30th of November 2010 in Mendi, Potape, the then chairman of the Como Magarima Joint District Planning and Budget Priority Committee, consented with his 10 committee members and dishonestly applied a sum of 330,000 kina as sitting allowance. From the total, 60,000 kina was alleged to have been paid to Potape and 270,000 kina was alleged to be paid to the committee members in the sum of 30,000 kina each. The court had found that the meeting minutes of the Joint District Planning and Budget Priority Committee on November 20, 2010, which was provided as evidence to the court, did not indicate any act of misappropriation by Potape. The court ruled that the prosecution fell short of the evidence they provided that Potape and his committee had received the money. The court ordered that Potape be discharged and his Supreme Court bail of 1,000 kina be refunded. Potape is expected to file a lawsuit against the state for serving almost 6 months in prison for this same charge. Pasinata Yama, National EMTV News.
The parliamentary opposition's claim to seek another vote of no confidence by using the judicial system has been slammed by Deputy Leader for People's National Congress Party, Mao Zedong. In a statement by the Fisheries Minister, Minister Zedong called on opposition leader to accept the defeat and move forward. Minister Zedong said going to court is a waste of time and the opposition should consider working with the government for better policies in developing the nation. Zedong described the opposition as power-hungry leaders and to stop the ongoing politics. And when we come back, a test case for refugees, reviving the Youth in Art program and a new church building for a community in the Moresby South electorate. Stay with us. Welcome back to Monday's news. Ben Lomai, the lawyer representing asylum seekers in Manus, filed 5 refugee statements of issues in court today on the refugees' intentions not to accept resettlement in Papua New Guinea. The statements are purposely being dealt with as a test case that, if successful, the court will use on other refugees to determine their reasons not to resettle here. Chief Justice Sir Salamo Injia directed 2 senior officials of the Immigration Department to file statements in response to this submission on the 2nd of August.
It has been 3 months since the Supreme Court ruled the Manus Detention Center unconstitutional. Mr. Lomai said his clients, the refugees, are still detained and he's concerned about their future, saying their rights and liberty to be released from the center have been deprived. He has filed 2 applications with the Supreme Court for them to return to Australia and has asked who's responsible for that. However, these applications have been put on hold pending the processing of the asylum seekers to determine whether or not they are refugees.
The next issue is who is responsible. That was one of the issues that we intend to address too as well. Is Australia responsible? Is PNG responsible? Or is both countries responsible? We need to come and argue that issue. And in fact, a lot of the reports are very clear on that. UNHCR, Australian Senate Committee, they hold Australia responsible.
Today in court, Ian Molloy, lawyer representing Foreign Affairs Minister Rimbeng Pato, raised the issue of jurisdiction on the inquiry conducted by Ben Lomai to the 5 refugees. Molloy said this process may be unconstitutional because the Supreme Court has already made its ruling. However, Lomai said his clients are still detained and it is a human rights issue that needs to be fast-tracked in court. MTV spoke with one of the refugees and this is what he said.
Because as seeking asylum as a human being, but they treat us worse than animals. Every single day, this has like 1 year for us. This okay, the court said next week. It has 7 years for me. For my friends, they all get mental problems in the pension. Just ask us to just let us go.
Meanwhile, a representative from the Refugee Action Coalition, an NGO in Australia, came to PNG on the weekend just to attend this court case.
And it is extremely frustrating that we're not seeing action from both the Australian government and the PNG government to actually close the centre. That people are still, in April 26th, that decision was made, and people are still waiting. And the situation on Manus gets worse and worse because people don't understand what their situation is, where they can be resettled, what their future is. All those things are in limbo, and the mistreatment is still happening on Manus Island because the centre remains open.
The case will return on August 2nd for immigration officials to respond to the 5 statements. Pasenata Yama, National EMTV News.
Theatre and the creative arts have long been promoted as an effective medium of communication and expression. However, in PNG, the industry is stagnant, with very little support given to practitioners and those interested in pursuing a career in it. While it will take a lot more time and effort in establishing a thriving industry in the country, small things are already happening to awaken interest in the area.
Today is the first day of the revival of Port Moresby Arts Theatre Youth Arts Program. It's called the Pride, and it's aimed at encouraging young people, especially high school students, to think about issues around them and to interpret it and dramatize it in a theatre performance. 13 schools in the nation's capital will be participating in this 6 weeks program.
And I think being involved in theatre and having the opportunity to write and act your own shows and your own plays, it gives them an outlet to express themselves, which they might not get at home, they might not get at school, but they might get on the stage to do so. So I think the opportunity to do that has been limited for young people over the last maybe 2 decades, but we're trying to get young people back.
It's all about increasing student confidence. They speak on stage and move on stage, people can express themselves better, but it's also about learning about their world and being able to say something about it on stage.
The program is a mix of presentations of social issues by different organizations, after which the students are taught to dramatize interpretations of the message. They are mentored by a performing arts group from Goroka, made up of staff and students from the University of Goroka and actors from the Round Round Theatre. Dr. Jane Awi is the team leader and explains how they teach the students the techniques of process drama.
Okay, for example, a while ago we just talked about healthy lifestyle and cancer. Okay, so how do we represent cancer using postcard? And what we've done is that we have pulled a tool, or technique, which is postcard, and asked the students to create a large photograph of risky, not risky, let's say unhealthy behaviors. And so it brings out different issues through this one technique. And then we have a bit of more interactive discussion with the students, and we ask them, what is this? What role is this? Can you tell us a little bit more? And then they generate stories out of it, and so they can create a script from that small technique.
The program will end with the best performances shown at Moresby Arts Theatre before a panel of judges.
And there are prizes for the best play, best director, best script, best actor, best actress, and probably another one I've forgotten. And that will be Pride. So it's 6 weeks in total, but it's a lot of fun and it's a lot of action here at Moresby Arts Theatre, but also back in the schools where the students come from.
Sarah Aupong, National EMTV News.
Theatre and the creative arts is a potential multi-billion kina industry in the country. This from Dr. Jane Awi from the University of Goroka, who says there is not enough support to build this industry, which has the potential to contribute more than just financially.
Dr. Awi is part of the Creative Arts and Communications Division at UOG. She describes the theatre and creative arts as a stagnant industry.
For example, if you look at the universities, University of Papua New Guinea and University of Goroka, we have arts program, but we hardly get students. So where have we gone wrong? What is wrong? Is it because students are not seeing any value of the arts, or is it because parents are not, recognizing the art as an important subject?
Maya Papal, the president of Moresby Arts Theatre, agrees.
I think with theatre in PNG, many Papua New Guineans may not know that there is historically a rich tradition of playwriting in PNG, especially based on our local legends, but it hasn't flourished and grown over the last 20 years. There's been historically in the 1980s, but not in the last 20 years.
Dr. Awi says currently the industry is suffering from a lack of support from the government and a lack of collaboration among practitioners.
But I believe that theatre can, alleviate us away from poverty, from unemployment, and from a lot of social issues. Only if we invest in it, give the right infrastructure, provide the right leadership, and build the creative industry. And theatre is in the creative industry.
Currently, the University of Goroka and the University of PNG are the only tertiary institutions in the country that provide courses in this field. For UOG, this year saw less than 10 students take up these courses, which Dr. Awi said is unfortunate as they are building a strong division in this field.
That's including dance and drama, theatre, music, visual arts, and film and communication. We are building a strong division there, so if anyone is interested, think about future opportunities and check it out.
Sarah Aupong, National EMTV News.
The Kessie congregation of Port Moresby opened its new United Church today. The church was built at a cost of 200,000 kina through the Moresby South Electorate District Services Improvement Project Fund. Local MP Justin Chichenko was present to officiate at the event.
Kessie's settlement community comprises mostly of people from Gulf Province. They have been living there for 3 generations after customarily acquiring the piece of land from the Motokoitabuans through an understanding of goodwill and friendship. In the mid-1960s, their forefathers devoted their lives to God, which saw the establishment of the church as the foundation of today's generation.
We choose to live a life that God wants, which our forefathers in those early 60s and 70s established church as the foundation.
And for the last 40 years, they have been faithful to God by worshipping in makeshift tents and temporary shelters.
Not knowing that somebody out there will come this far to help us establish the better building.
Speaking during the church opening ceremony, local MP Justin Chichenko said, having realized their commitment to God despite no proper shelter, he pledged to build them a new church. The church was built because the congregation has devoted their lives to God.
They are very devoted to the United Church and to the work of God.
He said the most important thing is it will put a lot of good in the community and help facilitate activities and programs of the youth and women.
Church spreads goodwill, it puts goodness in the hearts of people, and it changes their mindset.
Mr. Chichenko added that this is the first United Church opening in the electorate, and involving church work in the community will bring positive output. Eric Arupma, National EMTV News.
And now looking at our finance news, the kina closed 5 points lower at $0.3155 US in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your kina was buying $0.3080 US, $0.4096 Australian dollars, $0.2777 euro, and 32.39 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, copra closed higher, while gold, coffee, and cocoa closed the day lower. Palm oil, crude oil, and copper also closed the day lower. And on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 53.62 points higher. The ASX is trading at 14 points lower, and the All Ordinaries is trading at 14.34 points lower. Coming up on National EMTV News, meet the 103-year-old voter getting ready to cast her vote in the US elections. Stay with us. Welcome back to the news. Turning overseas and to the US elections, Hillary Clinton will this week be nominated by the Democratic Party to challenge the Republicans' nominee Donald Trump for the President of the United States. In this next story, we introduce you to a voter who is 103 years old. She was born at a time when women were not allowed to vote. This week, she will witness a woman accept nomination for a major political party. All this has happened in one voter's lifetime.
When it comes to politics and pretty much everything else, actually, it's fair to say Ruleen Steininger has just about seen it all.
I'm 103, April 14th, 1913.
That's right, 103. The Iowa resident was born a year before the start of World War I, and a passion she has had for nearly all of those 103 years is politics. She was 7 years old when women won the right to vote, and she says she has never missed voting in a presidential election, starting in 1936.
I voted for Roosevelt first time.
Democrat Franklin Delano Roosevelt defeated Republican Alf Landon that year. Her parents were loyal Republicans.
And how did your parents feel about that?
I didn't tell them.
What would have happened if you told them?
Well, I don't know. I didn't take a chance on that.
And Ruleen has voted for a Democrat every presidential election since.
So you're going to be voting for Hillary Clinton?
Am I? Are you silly? I don't know why everyone isn't for her.
For most of her life, from when she was a little girl to the midst of her career as a school teacher, Ruleen says she thought this about the presidency.
I couldn't imagine a woman. I mean, it's always been a man, and I just assumed it might always be.
But with Hillary Clinton, she now believes American history is about to change. And this past February, on the night of the Iowa caucuses,
May I ask how old you are? I'm 102.
Ruleen, accompanied by a son and daughter-in-law, cast her first vote for Hillary Clinton.
We had 98 for Hillary Clinton, 67 for Bernie Sanders, 6 undecided.
Where's my photographer when I need him?
And she read us a letter she wrote to Hillary Clinton.
In my first century of life, I have seen many incredible things. 2 world depressions, a cure for polio, a man on the moon, the end of smallpox, an attack on American soil, and a black president. In my second century, I look forward to seeing a woman president.
Clinton sent Ruleen a letter back expressing her gratitude and said she hoped to meet her at a rally, which, as you can see in this picture, they did.
I think if she becomes president, you can ask her for whatever you want.
I'm not asking her for anything. Just being president is enough.
Ruleen has 2 children and 3 grandchildren, and a 96-year-old sister who we heard her talking about.
She won't vote for Hillary because of Hillary's email problem, and that's a minor thing.
Ruleen wishes her sister thought like she did, because she believes one of the most remarkable moments of her life is on the verge of taking place.
How excited are you about casting a ballot in November for her?
Well, I'm real excited about it. And of course, I've got a big job ahead of me.
And what's that?
I gotta live. After that, okay. I can die if I want to, but I'm gonna live until she's elected.
And we have plenty coming up in Trukai sports, judo, rugby league, tennis and football. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. Judo athlete Raymond Ovenau will make his second appearance at the Olympics when he competes in Rio in the coming weeks. Ovenau, who qualified on merit, is hopeful of returning with a medal after his first Olympic experience in 2012.
PNGOC General Secretary Ovita Rapila praised Ovenau, stating that he is one of the very few athletes that qualified in the first instance. She said competition in a global level is tough, and for Ovenau to make it this far is an achievement.
Raymond qualifying on merit the second time now to the Olympics is significant because it is very tough to qualify for the Olympics, and so it's a big achievement in itself for him to qualify in the first instance. Yeah. it's tough out there on the Olympic stage.
PNGOC fundraising chairman Sid Yates added Ovino will be making his second appearance and he will be competing against the best in the world.
And Raymond's going to be up, I think what's up the top of your pool is about 20 people, I think, is it, around those numbers? So you're ranked up there in that top level, you know, where you're competing against, and it's very ferocious and tough and very competitive, and you have to be on your game.
Meanwhile, Raymond Ovino is hopeful of his chances in the Rio Olympics.
Really proud and just looking forward to doing something big for our country.
Dini Rose Raiko, National EMTV Sports.
The SPPNG Hunters beat East Tigers 38 points to 8 yesterday at the National Football Stadium. First try of the match came 20 minutes into the first half after Butler Morris picked up a loose ball before running 50 metres and passing to Justin Olam to score. 2 minutes later, Thompson Tete got over for his first after a great play by Watovo Puara. Tete would cross over for his second a few minutes later. Hunters forward Brandy Peter broke through Tigers' defence next, sending Warren Glare under the post. Young Silas Kahuna then crossed the line to get his first for the afternoon, pushing the Hunters' lead to 13-0 at half-time. In the second half, Blanda Bavu scored the first for the Hunters. East Tigers bounced back with 2 tries to Dane Chang and Jeremy Hawkins. Justin Olam would seal off the Hunters' victory with a try on the final hooter. The Hunters play the Ipswich Jets this weekend at the National Football Stadium on Saturday. Former PNG Kumul's hooker Tommy Butterfield has praised the work done by PNG RFL and the government in raising the standard of rugby league in the country. He was amazed at the new facilities at the National Football Stadium.
Tommy Butterfield, born in Alatau, is a rugby league player for the East Tigers in the Queensland Interest Super Cup. He plays as a hooker and is a Papua New Guinea international who was previously contracted to the Brisbane Broncos in the NRL. He captained the East Tigers, who played yesterday against the Hunters at the National Football Stadium, unfortunately losing 38 points to 8. He was amazed with how much the former Lloyd Robson Oval has changed over the years.
Again, I just want to thank and congratulate PNG Rugby League. You know, first class facilities. Rugby League's come a long way since last time I played here in terms of the facility and everything else. So it's a good push, and it just shows, you know, where we're going and what can happen in the future. So, you know, really proud to be Papua New Guinea and really proud to see how far this has come as well.
He praised Michael Marum and the work done with the Hunters.
Michael here and what he's doing with his squad. You know, you can see where the Hunters are heading, and you know, when they're completing it, I don't know, 80–90%, yeah, it's hard to stop.
When asked if we would see him again in the Kumul's jersey, this is what he had to say.
I don't know, just got to play well and see what happens. So there's some quality hookers there, but yeah, I just got to play well, see what happens really. Maybe Mike give me a start, who knows.
Elijah Levette, National EMTV Sports.
The Port Moresby Rackets Club is now running development programs for both tennis and squash to increase the interest of the two codes. Interested parents are encouraged to get their children involved in the programs. Tennis head coach Kwalum Apisa said the popularity of the codes is gaining momentum as trained and qualified tennis players are on hand to give the best coaching possible.
Since the establishment of the new Rackets Club in Port Moresby that was used during the 2015 Pacific Games, the PNG government left the venue to NCDC Rackets Association, which is now being used by the public and members of the Rackets Club. Since then, new members have applied to join both tennis and squash, also enrolling their young children in both development programs for the two codes. POM Tennis Club President Kwalum Apisa said creating a tennis development program for young and interested children will give parents the opportunity to enroll their children who show interest in the sport.
A full-time coach in squash and in tennis that will be at the court to do this, to identify good kids, and they pay to do that. So we try and change the way we approach our tennis and squash now. So we have these coaches in place who will be paid for by a sponsor person that is sponsoring that program, and their job is just to develop
up-and-coming Abigail or Marcia or Valendam, or in squash Junior and Ellie Webb, and we need to put this in place.
Also part of the Rackets Club, POM Squash has also started a similar initiative taking development of squash in the country. Publicity officer for POM Rackets Club said the code is slowly expanding and more young people are beginning to take part, showing great interest in the sport.
We're very fortunate in that we have some great coaches here. The Apisas have been a part of this club for, I think, the last 30 years. We've got some of our, for squash, we have Junior Madako, who's our PNG #1. So he comes down on Saturday, so he helps out with the junior training as well. We have Anthony Nagul, who's another former PNG rep. So we've got a good batch of juniors now coming through the ranks, so we're hoping these people will be the future stars of tennis and squash for PNG.
Godbineki, National EMTV Sports.
Women's football in Papua New Guinea is set to reach new heights with the recent announcement of a proposed national league in the new year. The last women's NSL competition was held in 2010, while 2017 will herald a new chapter for the country's greatest achievers on the regional front.
While the SPPNG Hunters and the Telecom National Soccer League competition have been big winners on the financial front so far in the new year, support and sponsorship of women's sport and individual athletes has gone begging. In 2014, Senior Vice President of the PNG Football Association, Linda Wanuhali, raised her own concerns about the differences in the inequality in support for women and girls in football.
We struggle. Women's football struggles. Irrespective of the status they give us in the South Pacific. The women's football has not been recognized, which I always say. But the girls continuously bring us very, very good results.
Likewise, similar calls had been made by another prominent woman in Hikari United manageress, Vonika Pinato.
Women, our women's team, congratulations to them. Even though we didn't have a better league like National League, they have proven very well to us, and we need to do something more like this, and so for the women, so that we can maintain, we can keep them. And I know PNGFA is working on that.
Prior to the Pacific Games in Port Moresby, calls had also been made by PNG captain Deslin Sinu, who had stated that despite the success of the women internationally in the Pacific region, they were still unrecognized. And the recent announcement of PNG Football Association President David Chung that the association will provide a 100,000 kina boost will benefit the new crop of PNG's talented women. While the newly appointed board of the National Women's Premier League are still in their foundation period, the news could not come at a better time for Papua New Guinea, with the impending World Cup showcasing our current women's talent. Jeremy Mogi, National EMTV Sports.
Trukai Sports continues after the break with surfing, netball and volleyball. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. Surfing PNG is now venturing to other parts of the country, extending its programs and introducing the use of longboards in the country. The surfers will leave later in the week to visit Vanimo to train young surfers the proper use of both the short and longboards.
Surfing Association of Papua New Guinea will be visiting Vanimo later this week to carry out one of the recent programs featuring the use of longboards, as well as to train the young talents in Vanimo on the proper use of both the long and short boards. In line with the visit, SAPNG will also be delivering surfboards to the local surfers, both men and women in the communities, and also to encourage the surfers to get ready for the upcoming international event in January. SAPNG is working on promoting longboarding in the country's surfing communities, with the majority of the surfers in the country, while around 500 men surfers in the country are only used to using short boards. While SAPNG prepares for the big game ahead, there will be 2 spots for wildcard entry into the event for 2 men and 2 women. Already potential talents have been identified by SAPNG, but yet to do the same for the women surfers, but SAPNG hopes they can scout some women from KVN. SAPNG will be visiting Bougainville next month to carry out similar programs. Godwin Eki, National EMTV Sports.
To netball now, Singapore's under-21 team departed today after 3 days of friendly matches in PNG. The Pepes won 2 of the 3 matches against Singapore. However, it was quite challenging for both teams. Dinrose Raiko reports.
Singapore under-21 team captain Tan Shini found the friendlies rewarding as there were only 5 experienced players, including her, in the team. The matches over the weekend have given the rest of the team the exposure they needed. After 3 close matches, the PNG team won 3 matches to 1, and the challenge presented to Singapore on court forced Singapore to play to the challenge.
You don't really get to play against these kind of bodies and this kind of play in Singapore, so it was a really good experience for the Singapore team, playing against such different players who are bigger, faster, more aggressive. Yeah, so it was a really good challenge, and I think my team learned a lot out of this.
Meanwhile, Singapore coach Joan Kairalu was thankful to the PNG Netball Federation for giving her team the opportunity for exposure.
Challenging and very competitive. We can see from the first day the result is like 1 goal difference. We managed to get some game plans going and execute them as instructed.
Kairalu added, similar to PNG, selections will continue for Singapore for the World Cup in September in Auckland. The Singapore team departed this afternoon for Singapore. Dinrose Raiko, National EMTV Sports.
Fairfax Volleyball Association in Port Moresby has selected teams to undergo training for the Volleyball Championships. The association identified a total of 96 players who were selected through a precise screening process from the many talents showcased during trial matches. President Killer Dick said he is confident in the team's preparations for the Games in September. Godwin Eki reports.
After weeks of hard training and attending trial matches, Fairfax Volleyball Association is ready in their preparations. From the 96 players selected from the Fairfax Volleyball Association, they will see 4 men's and women's teams in the Open Division, as well as under-21 men's and women's teams. President Killer Dick said this is a great opportunity for players to fully explore their potential and to allow them to participate and grow the interest of the code in the country.
Our training days have been on Sundays. We've trained over about 7 weekends now. Training is a focal point for development and improvement in various aspects. In regards to volleyball, we have different technique skills like spiking, blocking, setting, saving. So you've got to put together all these various skills to make up a team. Because it's a team sport, it requires a lot of team effort. So my coaches have been given that mandate to make sure that we train our players to that level. We have to be competitive when it comes against playing against sensitive women's volleyball team and power men's volleyball team.
He said a big contingent of players is expected to travel to Port Moresby in September from Lae, especially others from the New Guinea Islands region.
There are a number of associations in other provinces. For example, Moresby province also has a big number of associations similar to Port Moresby, and there are two provinces which volleyball is very high. So we will be looking at central villages like Ula and some of the Mekeo villages, which volleyball is very strong over there. We're looking at Alotau, Popondeta, and hopefully Gulf. They have some volleyball villages over there as well.
Kodbineki, National EMTV Sports.
Since being dropped from the Fiji 7 side ahead of the 2016 Rio Olympic Games, former NRL star Jared Hayne is yet to decide his next move. However, the Hayne train could be making a switch to rugby union following talks with the ARU.
Now turning his back on the NFL after a satisfactory season with the San Francisco 49ers and not making the final cut for the Fiji 7 squad to Rio, where to now for Jared Hayne? According to reports from his manager, it is likely that Hayne will make the switch back to the NRL, Australian Rugby Union. Former Wallabies coach John Connolly has hesitations about whether Jared Hayne is fully committed to the switch to rugby union, but believes the Waratahs should give him a shot anyway. Connolly believes Hayne can be exactly what the Waratahs are looking for and to add extra depth to the team that they have been looking for. But the decision regarding Hayne's future is still in question, as the code hopper is yet to give his final verdict on his future as an athlete. Dion Kombeng, National EMTV Sports.
And that ends Trukai Sports. The weather details when we come back.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
And your weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow in the southern region. Fine tonight, mostly sunny tomorrow for Port Moresby and Alotau. Light showers, drizzles at times for Daru and mostly fine in Kerma and Popondetta. In the Momase region, showers with patchy rain for Ley City, showers and chances of developing rain in Madang, Wewak and Vanimore. In the New Guinea Islands, showers and thunderstorms for Lorengau, Kavieng, patchy rain with thunderstorms for Kokopo, Rabaul and Kimbe, and some showers with occasional thunderstorms in Buka. And lastly, in the Highlands region, all centres expecting rain, drizzles and fog. That's how we begin another working week on this Monday, the 25th of July 2016. From the entire news team, I'm Lorraine Genia. Pleasant working week. Good night.